Hi, Andrew from Sachs, and welcome to video number 6 in our 8-video sequence on better decision making in the artificial intelligence age. This one is all about priming, a psychological effect of how people can be primed to make certain decisions by experiences that they have. So far in this sequence, we've talked about what we mean by decisions. We've looked at people's individual variability to make decisions. We've looked at the fact that human beings in general, particularly if decisions involve forecasts, are not good at making decisions at all. Later in this video sequence, in the final videos, we'll be talking about how to optimize decision making. And part of that we will be arguing is artificial intelligence and machine learning, but built around simple algorithms. Let's talk about the fascinating world of priming. Here's an example of a very simple form of priming. Bread, juice, milk, SO-P. Well, most people will write soup because they've been primed by these words here. On the other hand, shower, towel, shampoo, SO-P, soap. That's an example of priming at its most neurological, simple level. But priming's been found to be a much subtler kind of effect than that. And very famous research is the work of John Bargh, where they discovered a thing called the Florida effect. So they conducted a study and they asked participants to solve word puzzles. And some of the word puzzle participants solved puzzles that were populated with words like elderly and wrinkled, and even the word Florida, which in the United States of America has a sort of a retirement flavour to it. People go and live in condominiums in Florida when they get to retirement age. And other people were primed with words that were youthful and energetic. And Bargh measured how quickly people walked away from the study and found a statistically significant difference in the walking speed depending on which words they were primed by. Kind of spooky in a way. Now, Bargh went on to conduct a bunch of other studies associated with things like recruitment practice. He asked people to act as interviewers, and he asked them to interview people, real live human beings, for imaginary jobs. But he varied a whole bunch of different stuff. He varied, for instance, the seats that people sat on. Some were comfortable, some were hard. He varied the folders that people took notes on. Some had substantial leather kind of impressive folders, others had very flimsy folders. He also varied things like the temperature and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And what he discovered is, for instance, if you were on uncomfortable seats, you were more likely to perceive the candidates as being inflexible or difficult or unlovable. If you had the very substantial folders, you might be more inclined to see the candidates as more substantial. So in short, what he was able to do is demonstrate a range of things that primed people. And of course, we all know that if you, just to think of it in a fatigue effect, the interviews that you do on a Friday afternoon may not be quite as fresh and as attentive as the ones that are undertaken, let's say, first thing on Monday morning, depending on what you did on the weekend, I guess, as well. But the point is that priming can affect a whole range of different things. We also know that when people are primed with money, so this is the work of Kathleen Vohs, and Kathleen did a literature review of a whole bunch of studies, 165 studies, where you prime people with reminders of money as compared with priming them about human interest, saying, oh, well, we're really interested in social justice here. If people got primed with money, what they found was that people were less helpful, less empathic and warm, tended to work more and relax less, put in more effort and time on tasks and work towards goal, perform better on objective measures, and they also tended to feel strong and efficacious. That's a really interesting point. If you set up an exercise as being a process of, let's say you get a bonus by doing a certain thing, then it works. No question about that. Now, we know that from psychology research over the years anyway, but it also influences the type of decisions that people are likely to make. They're likely to be more cut and dried and purposeful rather than warm and inclusive. So priming definitely can affect the way people make their decisions. There's also a thing called the primacy and recency effect. And going back to interviews for a moment, that's why it's a really good idea to be the first person interviewed or the last person interviewed, because the primacy effect means we tend to notice more the thing that happens first in any sequence of events. So if you're recruiting for a job, you tend to notice the first person that you interviewed more than the middle one. And you also, the recency effect says that you're more likely to pay attention, not as much as the primacy effect, but you're more likely to pay attention to the most recent thing that happened. So if you watch a play, you may remember how it opens and how it closes, but the middle bit isn't so powerful. Now, the important thing about if you're going to have a meeting with somebody, let's say it's a stakeholder management kind of a challenge, if you don't start well and you don't finish well, then what happens in the middle can be wasted. This is another reason why it's hard to make good decisions, because we get primed to make decisions. You can imagine that if somebody is coming to us with a message of human warmth and support and social justice, but for whatever reason we've been primed by money, so maybe we've just had a discussion about our salary with our boss or something like that, well, we may well make decisions which are different than we would if we'd been primed for quality, let's say. So priming does have an effect on decision. The last two videos in this sequence will focus on what we can do about all of this stuff and suggest some methods using artificial intelligence and algorithms to help us make better decisions.